Do you know that a material can have more than one valuation in the same plant? Have you tried to use split valuation before? If not, or if you have any question or doubts, please see this video till the end. Have you seen my last video? It was a very requested topic. It was about stock transport order with shipping, routing, and routes. Check it out. Also, if you don't want to miss any of these videos again, please subscribe and turn on notifications.
Hello and welcome back to another new weekly video. Today we will talk about split valuation. For certain materials, it is necessary to individually evaluate the various stocks in a particular valuation area. If a material is subject to split valuation, then the material is managed as several partial stocks, and each partial stock is evaluated separately. Every transaction that is relevant for valuation, for example, a good receipt, a good issue, an invoice receipt, or a physical inventory, are executed at the level of the partial stock. When you process one of these transactions, you must always specify which partial stock is involved. This is to ensure that only the partial stock in question is affected by a change in value. The other partial stocks remain unaffected. Along with the partial stock, the total stock is also updated. The calculation of the value of the total stock results from the total of the stock values and the stock quantities of the partial stock. Using split valuation, separate valuation of partial quantities of a material can be carried out. Here we have to define valuation categories and valuation type. In SAP, they will call us global valuation category and global valuation type. Valuation category specifies the criteria to be used as the basis for differentiating between the various partial stock. This is one character. And the global valuation type specifies an individual characteristic of a partial stock. Here we have some examples. For example, we can have different valuations for or according to the procurement type. So we define a valuation category, and then we define the valuation types or the characteristics. So here will be internal and external. So we can have one valuation for a material when we create POs or external purchasing, and this will be different from the valuation when we produce this internally with production orders. In the same way, we can have different valuations according to the country of origin, and maybe we want to have different prices for the same material when we buy it from different countries or even from different regions. Same thing could happen to materials that have different qualities. Maybe we buy them from the same or different vendor and the qualities are different. So we want to have different prices and valuation for each of them. We will see all this in the customizing and along this video. Let's start with our customizing, jumping in the IMG. So here we have to go to Material Management, Valuation and Account Assignment, and here we have Split Valuation. The first step is to activate the split valuation, but here it is already activated. And then we have the configuration of the split valuation. So here we have the types and the categories that we described in the overview. So let's go to the global type. We're going to start first with an example of split valuation according to the procurement type. This is if we produce the material internally or we purchase this externally. So first we have to create the valuation types. So let's say that we call it external purchasing. And here we have the attributes. So we're going to say that for external purchase order, this is allowed. And internal purchase order, or will be like production, in this valuation will be not allowed. And we link to account reference. We're going to use 001. You know that in customizing, the accounting category reference is linked to our material types. Okay, so at the end, this valuation is linked to a material type. And we can click on create. And we save it. And now let's do another one for internal purchasing. And in this case, the attributes will be the opposite. External purchase order are not allowed, and internal purchase orders are allowed for the same accounting category reference. And we create. Okay, now we have our valuation types. Yep, these two. Now let's go to our categories. We can create a new category. Let's call it Y. Description will be like internal or external. And we can define the procedure as default. So for example, in the case of external, when we create a PO, this procedure will be automatically proposed, but it can be changed. So in this case, for external, we're going to use this one. And in case the internal, we're going to use the other one. We can also set this checkbox here, and this will be set as a procedure as mandatory. So they will be proposed and they cannot be changed. Okay, so let's see how it goes with this option on. Create. So now we have our category Y created. You see that these are already active, okay, for the Y. And now let's go to local definitions. And here we have to assign to evaluation area, in this case to our plant. So we're going to use plant 1000. And we're going to activate the Y for plant 1000. Activate. Okay. So now you see that for plant 1000, we have our category Y that is activated with these two characteristics. Okay, now we can go and do our master data. In the case of split valuation, our master data will be mainly focused on the material master. So let's go and create one part. We're going to use raw materials as this is where we have linked our categories. Let's go and check this again. As we have mentioned, we have this one that is linked to the account reference 0001. And here we have the link between the account reference and the material types. So for example, raw materials ROH is linked to the account reference 1. Okay, so we're going to create a material of this material type. Also, as we're going to create external POs and internal POs, but normally the ROH is defined only for external procurement. Okay, so I have made changes in the material types. So in the case of ROH, yes, we have internal and external purchase order allowed. Okay, by default, internal are not allowed. Okay, when we set that, let's go and create a new material. We're going to select just the views that we need, okay? And accounting. Plant 1000. Let's say test internal, external. Base unit of measured and material group are entered. Then we are in the purchasing view. And then we are MRP. I can set PD, MRP controller, log size. And finally, we arrive to the accounting view. Here we have the evaluation category field. So here we will have to assign the category that we just created. And we can use evaluation class 3000. Price will be average. Let's say moving price of 10. Okay, material 2006 was created. Now we have to still create again our material for the accounting view for the same plant, but for our valuation type. Let's start with external. Okay, so now we are creating the material in our plant, but for the valuation type external. And here we have to assign again the valuation class and a price. Let's say is 10 for external POs. Good. And now we are going to do the same for the other valuation type. Internal. We can use the same or a different valuation class. So you see that we are using the same material and we are selecting different valuation classes and different prices because we have different valuation types. And let's say when this is produced in-house, instead of 10, the value is 8. Okay, now we have our material created. We can see also in a report, and here we can see all the different valuations that we have for this part. Yeah. At plant level and then at plant level and two valuation types. And you can see the prices here. So now let's go and create one PO. For this vendor, 206, we can say just one unit. And you can see in the delivery tab at item level that we have the valuation type X external purchasing. You see this is proposed by default, and as it was set as mandatory, it's gray out and we cannot change it. So we're creating a PO for one unit for $10. And then we can do the code receipt for this PO. And you see also here in the material tab, we have the valuation type. Okay, this is done. In the same way, we could do a production order and the goods received based on the production order. This will take a lot of time. So in that case, I was going to do just a good receipt for other for the same part. Movement type 561, plant and storage location. And you see that we will use, for example, if you do a check here, you see that this is mandatory. It has to be filled, okay? And we're going to use the internal, doing like a simulation that we are receiving this based on the production. Okay. If we check the material master again, the accounting view, we will see that for the external purchasing, we have one unit in stock and total inventory value is $10. And in the case of the same part, but for the valuation type internal, we have one unit of stock and the inventory value is 8. We have different valuations for the same part and also different valuation classes in this case. So this was the example of split valuation according to the procurement type. Now we can see another example based on the country of origin. Okay, so let's see our customizing again. For this, I've seen that we have land 1 and land 2 already created, and both are allowing external POs and they are not allowing internal POs. So we can suppose that we are creating POs from land 1, that is a country or region, where we need a different price for the same part than when we buy from land 2. So here in origin, we see we have land 1 and land 2 already active and assigned to the account reference 0001. But as you can see here, they are not proposed as default as in the other case, okay? And they are not set up anyway as mandatory. So let's do that like this so we can see the difference between the scenarios. So this is valuation category H. Let's check if this is assigned to plant 1000. H, yes, it is active, okay? So let's go and create another material. Raw material. In plant 1000. Test land. And here in the evaluation category, we're going to use H, origin. Valuation class 3000. And in this one, we can say price of 10. And we save. Material 207. And now we have to define the values for land 1 and land 2. Land 1. We're going to say $10 for land 1. And in land 2, we're going to say that is $5. Okay, so now we have our part 207 that is created in the valuation categories land 1 and land 2. So now let's create a PO. One unit. And now you can see that in this case, the valuation type is not proposed as it was not set as default. So let's go to land 1. We can create several POs with different prices, okay? But in the same way, we can say that we create a new item, but this also could be a new PO to a different vendor, okay? So we say 8 in this case, yeah? And we go to item details and we set land 1. So the scenario here is that we are creating, let's suppose that land 1 is Europe, okay, or some region that you want to define. And we're creating POs for different vendors in that region. And we have different prices. And then let's do the same. Let's create another one for $5, but in this case, let's use land 2. Okay, so this will be a PO to a vendor of a different region where the price was 5. Okay, and now let's go and do the good receipts. Based on a PO. Here we have 2 lines. And then the other for 1 line. Okay, so now let's go and check again the material master. So in the case of land 1, we have created 2 items that could simulate as 2 POs for 1 unit each. And in one case it was $10, and in the other case it was $8. So we see that we have 2 units in stock, and the total inventory value is 18. So we have an average, okay, of $9 for each unit. So this make an average price calculation inside the evaluation type land 1. And for the same in land 2, here we have just one PO with $5. So we have 1 unit with $5, inventory value $5. So you can see in this case that all the accountings and calculation of the moving average prices were separate and differentiated between the 2 valuation types, land 1 and land 2.
Have you enjoyed this video? If so, please subscribe, turn on notifications, give a like and comment. See you next time. Bye.